Every fast food chain sells you the same basic product, a fried potato and salt, and somehow no two of them taste anything alike. That is not an accident, and it is not just seasoning. I dug into the actual oil types, cutting methods, and coating chemistry behind 6 of the biggest fry programs in the country, and the differences go a lot deeper than most people assume. Today we are breaking this down chain by chain: McDonald's, Five Guys, In-N-Out, Chick-fil-A, Wendy's, and Shake Shack. And by the end of this, you will understand exactly why your favorite one tastes the way it does, and why it can never really be replicated anywhere else. This is one of those topics where almost everyone has a strong opinion about which chain does it best. But almost nobody actually knows why their favorite tastes the way it does. And that gap is exactly what we're closing today. If you're new here, hit subscribe and tap the notification bell so you never miss a breakdown like this one. Let's get into it. Why each chain's fries taste different. Every fry on this list starts as a potato, but the oil, the cut, and the coating behind it are where the real differences live. Before getting into individual chains, it helps to understand a handful of variables that separate a great fry from a mediocre one, since every restaurant on this list is making different choices across the same basic checklist. Potato variety matters first, since high-starch, low-moisture potatoes like russet Burbanks crisp more reliably than waxy varieties, which hold more water and tend to steam rather than crisp inside a fryer. Oil choice matters second, both for flavor and for how the oil behaves at high heat, since some oils produce a crisper exterior, while others contribute more to the finished flavor itself. And the smoke point of a given oil directly determines how hot a kitchen can safely run its fryers before the oil itself starts breaking down. The double fry technique, a lower temperature first pass to cook the interior followed by a hotter second pass right before serving, is what most professional fry programs rely on to get a fully cooked center without overcooking the outside. And finally, the coating, the light dusting of starches, dextrose, and leavening agents that most major chains apply before freezing, is what keeps a fry from turning gray or greasy after sitting under a heat lamp for a few minutes. Every chain below is making its own decisions across those 4 variables, and no two of them are making the exact same set of trade-offs. McDonald's. McDonald's fries carry the most famous backstory in the entire industry. From the 1940s through 1990, the chain cooked its fries in a blend known internally as Formula 47, roughly 93% beef tallow and 7% cottonseed oil, and that fat blend is the reason older customers still describe the original fries as having a rich, savory depth that nothing since has matched. That formula was reportedly born out of suppliers' cost-saving workaround rather than a deliberate flavor decision, which makes the fact that it became one of the most beloved fry recipes in fast food history a bit of an accident. In 1990, under sustained public pressure over saturated fat led by activist Phil Sokoloff, McDonald's switched to a vegetable oil blend, and the backlash was immediate. Customers said the new fries tasted flat, and the company's stock reportedly dropped after the announcement. McDonald's response was to add natural beef flavoring back into the vegetable oil, a workaround that is still part of the recipe today, using hydrolyzed wheat and milk proteins rather than any actual beef product. The current fries are par-fried and flash-frozen at supplier plants, coated lightly with dextrose to help them brown evenly, then fried a second time in restaurant, which means every order you get has technically been fried twice before it reaches you, once at a factory and once behind the counter. The oil itself has changed again since 1990 as well, moving away from the original hydrogenated vegetable oil blend toward canola, corn, and soybean mix once trans fat concerns became better understood, a change McDonald's made public in 2007 as it phased out trans fats across its menu entirely. Food journalist and podcast host Malcolm Gladwell later argued the 1990 switch may have actually made the fries less healthy overall, since the polyunsaturated oils that replace tallow can produce more oxidation byproducts at frying temperatures than the saturated fat they replaced, a point that continues to divide nutrition researchers today. McDonald's built its flavor around a fat that no longer exists in the recipe, replaced by a workaround most customers never notice. The next chain on this list takes the opposite approach entirely, betting everything on one specific, unusual oil instead of trying to fake a flavor with additives. Five Guys. Five Guys fries every single potato in 100% refined peanut oil, and the chain treats that choice as close to sacred. According to the company, peanut oil delivers a distinctly buttery, melt-in-your-mouth quality that more common frying oils like canola or soybean cannot replicate. And because peanut oil has a naturally high smoke point, it holds up well under the heat needed for a proper crisp exterior without breaking down into bitter compounds the way lower smoke point oils can. The potatoes themselves are hand-cut and stored from whole Idaho potatoes, never frozen, then soaked and blanched in water to remove surface starch before a gentle 2.5-minute pre-fry. Just before serving, they go back in the fryer a second time for the final crisp, a two-stage process that mirrors the double fry technique used at nearly every serious fry program on this list, even though each chain arrives at it slightly differently. Because the fryers at Five Guys are dedicated entirely to fries and touch nothing else on the menu, there is no crossover flavor from chicken, fish, or breaded items the way there can be at chains that share fryer oil across multiple foods. The chain also displays the specific farm as potatoes were sourced from on a board in every store, turning ingredient sourcing into part of the in-store experience rather than something buried in a corporate disclosure page. And the peanut oil itself is filtered and changed multiple times throughout each day to keep it from picking up any off flavors as it ages. Five Guys leans on a single distinctive oil and fresh, hand-cut potatoes to set itself apart. The next chain shares that same commitment to fresh cutting, but the results have not always landed the same way. In-N-Out cuts its fries from whole potatoes inside every single restaurant, using a dedicated machine that presses raw potatoes through a cutting head right behind the counter, and the chain has built much of its identity around that visible freshness, treating the sight of raw potatoes going into the machine as part of the customer experience rather than something hidden in a back kitchen. The trade-off is real, because the potatoes are never frozen and never pre-treated the way most commercial fry supply chains handle theirs. The final product depends heavily on the potatoes' natural seasonal quality and on the skill of whichever employee is running the fryer that shift. Food industry critics have pointed out that potatoes have a genuine peak season, and outside of that window, fresh cut fries can turn out noticeably less crisp or less flavorful, a problem that never shows up at chains relying on standardized, factory par-fried potatoes that are engineered to taste the same in July as they do in January. In-N-Out has also shifted its frying oil over the years, moving away from cottonseed oil toward other vegetable oil blends, though the company keeps much of its exact formulation private, which has made In-N-Out one of the more frequently investigated fast food chains among food bloggers trying to pin down exactly what changed and when. Unlike Five Guys or Chick-fil-A, In-N-Out does not appear to double fry its potatoes in the same deliberate two-stage process, which some fry enthusiasts argue is part of why the texture can land softer and less uniformly crisp than competitors who build that second high-heat fry into their standard procedure. In-N-Out's commitment to fresh cutting creates both its biggest strength and its most inconsistent results. The next chain solved that inconsistency problem with a completely different tool, a distinctive cut shape instead of a distinctive oil. Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A's waffle cut is not just a visual gimmick. It is a functional decision that changes the entire eating experience. The crosshatch pattern dramatically increases the surface area of each fry compared to a standard shoestring cut, which means more potato makes direct contact with hot oil, producing more crisp edges per bite while still leaving a soft, steamy center in the thicker middle sections. The fries are cooked in canola oil, a choice the chain made deliberately after switching from peanut oil in the early 2000s, specifically so the fries could run in a completely separate fryer from the peanut oil used for its breaded chicken, keeping the waffle fries free of the 9 major food allergens and safe for people managing a peanut allergy specifically. Like most major chains, the potatoes carry a light coating of modified food starch dextrose and leavening agents like sodium acid pyrophosphate before frying, additives that help the fries brown evenly and hold their shape through the waffle cutting process without falling apart in the fryer. That coating matters more here than at chains using a simple shoestring cut, since the intricate crosshatch shape puts more structural stress on each individual fry than a straight cut potato has to withstand. And a fry that falls apart mid-fry is both a waste of product and a texture problem the kitchen has to manage constantly. Chick-fil-A changes the geometry of the fry instead of changing the oil or the potato. The next chain takes a similar interest in shape and texture, but leans into a more old-fashioned look instead. Wendy's. Wendy's fries take a different visual approach entirely. Cut with the skin left on for what the chain calls a natural cut style, giving each fry a slightly rustic, homemade look compared to uniform shoestring fries most competitors serve. That skin-on approach also adds a bit more fiber and texture contrast than a fully peeled fry offers, since the skin crisps up differently than the flesh underneath it during frying. The oil is a blend of soybean, canola, and cottonseed, all non-hydrogenated to keep the finished product at 0 grams of trans fat, and the potatoes get the same basic treatment as most major chains behind the scenes. Coated lightly with dextrose and leavening agents like sodium acid pyrophosphate and sodium bicarbonate to help them brown consistently and stay crisp after sitting under a heat lamp. Wendy's has leaned on this formula consistently since reformulating the fries several years ago, positioning the natural cut style as a middle ground between the fully processed shoestring fries at some competitors and the truly fresh cut approach used by chains like Five Guys and In-N-Out. That middle ground positioning shows up in the ingredient list too, which sits somewhere between the minimal 3-ingredient approach at Five Guys and the longer, more chemistry-heavy panels found at chains leaning harder on shelf-stable, pre-frozen supply chains, and is a positioning Wendy's has leaned into deliberately in its marketing, presenting the natural cut style as proof the fries are less processed, even though the underlying frying and coating process is closer to McDonald's or Chick-fil-A than it is to Five Guys. Wendy's splits the difference between process convenience and a more rustic presentation. The final chain on this list took the opposite bet, tried to go more artisanal, and quickly found out its customers did not actually want that. Shake Shack. Shake Shack's crinkle cut fries are frozen, not fresh, a fact that surprises a lot of customers given the chain's premium, better burger positioning on everything else on the menu. That was not always the plan. In 2013, Shake Shack spent roughly $1 million retraining its entire staff and retooling its kitchens to switch from frozen crinkle-cut fries to fresh-cut Belgian-style fries made from russet potatoes, fried twice in-house for a genuinely elevated result that the company's own culinary director called the best fresh-cut fry they had ever made. Customers disagreed. Sales of the new fries dropped so sharply that Shake Shack reversed the change entirely and brought the original frozen crinkle-cut fries back to the menu within about a year, a rare and fairly public example of a premium chain trying to upgrade a fan favorite and getting told directly by its customers to put it back the way it was. Today, those fries are fried primarily in soybean oil, though the company has been piloting a newer, more sustainable sugarcane-based oil at a small number of New York City locations as part of a partnership aimed at reducing the environmental footprint of its frying operation. The crinkle cut shape itself does real work here too, increasing surface area in a similar way to Chick-fil-A's waffle cut, which is part of why the format has stuck around for decades despite Shake Shack's brief attempt to replace it with something more artisanal, and the 2013 reversal is now something of a cautionary tale inside the restaurant industry about the risk of upgrading a product customers already consider iconic, even when the upgrade is objectively more labor-intensive and arguably better executed. Every chain on this list is solving the same basic problem: how to turn a potato into something crisp, salty, and craveable, and every one of them is solving it a different way. McDonald's is chasing a flavor memory from a fad it no longer uses. Five Guys and In-N-Out are betting on freshness, even when it costs them consistency. Chick-fil-A and Shake Shack are using shape and geometry to do work that oil and technique cannot do alone. Wendy's is splitting the difference on nearly every decision. None of these approaches is objectively correct. They are just different trade-offs. And now you know exactly which trade-offs are sitting underneath your favorite order. It also explains why trying to recreate your favorite chain's fries at home so rarely works, since matching the potato variety is only one piece of a much longer chain of decisions that starts well before the potato ever reaches a fryer, running through sourcing, cutting, coating, and oil selection before technique even enters a picture. Next time you're comparing fries between two different drive-thrus, you'll actually know why they taste nothing alike. Share this with whoever you argue with about which chain has the best fries, and drop a comment telling me which one actually won the debate for you. I read everyone, and I'll be back with the next breakdown soon. Bite Back Bites. We chew through the nonsense so you don't have to.